My name's Kiana. I'm not here to change your mind or anything. I'm just mostly here to ask, why do you believe that abortion has become such a political and dividing issue in specifically the last few years?
I would say because science has progressed to the point where we can, with biological certainty and with faith in the instruments of like microscopes, right? Reporting reality as it is, we infer that with 97% consensus among experts that we know when human life begins. And if we believe in the premise that all humans are persons and that all persons are deserving of life, right? And like that their life should not be infringed, then and if you believe that it's not just one infringement of a right among many, but a particularly archetypically terrible infringement of right, the actual killing of another human being, right? In its most grave form, you can think of a mother killing their child, right? Like, it doesn't seem like there should be silence on something like that if it's happening. And if it's not happening, then yeah, I don't know why we would talk about it. Like, nobody would talk about it. So I would say the reason it's divisive issues because people started doing it and they demanded that they had the right to it, or like they were just given the right to it and then they took advantage of it. I'm not really sure. I think it's a little of both, probably. Yeah. And then those people need to be checked. Like, they can't just run rampant in society and get away with killing human persons.
Well, the repeal of Roe versus Wade for sure
Mm.
is one of the reasons. And secondly, there has been a not so subtle dehumanization movement over the last 60 years that makes it acceptable to crush human beings smaller than you if you so choose.
Okay. It's mostly I believe that the initiative of those beliefs have become more hateful towards women. And I'm just kind of
When,
wondering, what is the incentive with
where,
all of these points? Like,
who.
why should we not have the option to choose?
Do I or do let's do you have the
Let's hear that again just
Points, like,
to make
why
sure I
should we
got
not
that
have
right.
the wondering, initiative of those beliefs have become more. It's mostly I believe that the initiative of those beliefs have become more hateful towards women. And I'm just kind of wondering,
So, the initiative has become more hateful towards women. So, because something is hateful towards women,
what is
therefore
the
women,
incentive with all of these points? Like, why should we not have the option to choose?
then therefore why shouldn't women get to choose? The argument is because somebody is hateful towards somebody else, that person who is hated should get to choose. What? 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 Where does this argue? Like, how does that argument follow exactly? Like, where's Where's the structure there? It's just you go from this person is being hated to therefore they should get to choose, right? And you don't even really assert that they should get to choose. You ask, then why don't they? Why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't they choose? Right? Like it's just hmm.
Do I or do let's do you have the choose?
And then I guess to respond to that, I would say, and I would ask, do you hate anybody? Like just any one person, any one thing, maybe an animal even, like a lion, a tiger, a bear, oh my. Do you hate any of them? Right? And then I would wonder what she would say. And if she says yes, I hate, say for example, she says she hates spiders, right? And I said, well, because you hate spiders, don't you think spiders should have the right to kill your children, right? Like they should have the right to kill human beings, right? Because they're hated. Because that's your argument. Your argument is if like if something is hated, therefore that thing hated should be able to kill human beings. Right? That's your argument.
The agency or the choice to murder.
Well, yes. There's consequences, but I do have
But
the option.
under the law.
No,
Okay.
technically.
So therefore, that's our position.
So she thinks, oh, like I just suffer the consequences, but I should be able to do it. You know, there's consequences to murdering your neighbor, even if it's not illegal. So should we be able to do it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, like if there was never a law written down that said "Thou shalt not kill," right? Never. Like, there was just never written down. There was no legal system. There was no oral tradition. There was nothing. Do you think it was still wrong for a brother to kill a brother, for example? Right? Like, what if the brother hated the other brother? And then so the brother that was hated had the choice to kill a human. And so since his brother hated him, he killed his brother. The brother that hated him died. Right? Is that what the world that you want? That's like the world that she's wishing for?
Well, not necessarily. It's more so like in the aspects of when, the mother's life is in danger and, those special circumstances. Like, why can we not have those options in those situations either?
Look, if there was ever the case where hypothetically one human being could live only if they kill another human being intentionally, then I would say, oh, they both die. They just both die. Or that person dies. If they both don't have to die. Like, you don't get the right to kill somebody just to live. Right?
Because no one is inherently going out saying, I just want to kill babies. That's not anyone's point here.
Well, yeah.
It's more so the point
You
of...
should look at a Planned Parenthood ad. I mean, that's basically what they do. But so less
It's
than
just
half of 1% of
self-contradictory
all
to
of
claim like that in principle you can use somebody as a means towards an end. Because then there's no principality of rights for life at all outside of just force doctrine. That I can force myself to live, and therefore I live, and if you try to contradict me, you die. Outside of that, then there's nothing, like, outside of a principled, like, universalism of the life principle for all persons, right? Immortality, universally, like with eternity, right? Eternal commitment to life for all persons and the intrinsic dignity that follows. If it weren't for that, then all there would be is, oh, I can force myself to live, and if you try to force yourself to live against me and die, then that's just because you're weak and you don't have the right to live. Just like you do to the babies in the womb.
Abortions have to do with rape, incest, or life of the mother. 99.5% of all
Is that the world that you
abortions
want?
have to do with
Is that the
just
world
a
that
form
you
of birth
believe
control.
in? Is
It's
that
a,
the
it's a
world that you
last
think is
catch
true?
option because whatever
Is
type
that the
of birth
world you
control
should
you were
live
using
in?
didn't work.
Would you want someone who is not necessarily stable or ready to bring a child into this world and provide that child the life it deserves? Would you want them to still bring that child into this
Without a
world?
doubt, every life
Oh, I
has
didn't hear
a
the
moral
question
Would you
exactly.
want them to this world or ready someone who would you want
because whatever type of birth control you were using didn't work.
would you want someone
Did you say
who
raped?
is not necessarily stable or ready to bring a child
Oh,
into this
not
world and
stable or
provide that
ready.
child the life it deserves? Would you want them to still bring that child into this world?
Oh man, dude. It's like, because, therefore, if they're poor, they should get to kill their baby. Like what? Like, or they don't want their baby, so they should get to kill it. It's like the new Gucci bag. It's like, if you don't want to pay the expense for the new Gucci bag, you don't have to pay the expense for the new Gucci bag, sweetheart. You know what I mean? Like, like a baby is just like another commodity, right? Like, that's just a part of the economy, and you can just like destroy it like it's a piece of property. Like, that's trivial and not like sacred, because obviously even some private property shouldn't be destroyed, even if it is your private property, because private property isn't a perfect right. As the church says, it's a imperfect right that is almost pragmatically necessary, let's say, for instrumenting autonomy and exercising responsibility, right? But it can be taken away, right? And the mechanisms that would do that is a mechanism of power and authority, right? Like a head of state or an appointed council from the head of state, right? Or judge, like certain, like people who vote on certain things, maybe, or like a council of people who vote, or maybe just like a judge who judges, or both, maybe both, a mix of both for different parts of the judgment, maybe, right? Like, maybe, for example, like a judge has to find it necessary and sufficient, and he has to find a random pool of his peers that agree with it, and he has like X amount of tries of a random pool of peers to get a success, like 3 strikes and you're out, or something like that. Like, you can re-roll like a jury 3 times, and if you can get like the result that a judge finds is necessary and sufficient for the execution of law, then, like, if it involves removing somebody's private property or giving private property to somebody, then that can be a part of the law too, right? But obviously human beings aren't private property, right? Slavery is illegal in the United States. Sorry. So you can't just say, the baby's my private property, so I get to kill it, right?
Without a doubt, every life has a moral obligation to be able to live. So I just want to play this out. So you say it's all about the choice of the mother. At what point does the human being in utero become a human being in your mind? Because it must be not human
Yeah,
than
when
human.
does it become
when
a
does
human
it
in
cross
your
that
mind?
threshold?
That's such a
I
why?
would say
Pick her
more so
mind.
in the 2nd to 3rd trimester.
Got it. So just be
Why?
respectful, guys.
What's the
Why then?
property?
What happens in the 2nd and 3rd trimester specifically that all of a sudden human being,
Well, it goes from a clump of cells in the 1st trimester to the heart being developed in the brain and
so
the nervous
when does the
system.
heart begin?
I believe in the second trimester.
Yeah, 6 weeks. That's the first trimester, right? So a heartbeat is detectable between 6 to 8 weeks. That's 2 months. The second trimester does not start till 18.
See, my argument
Brain-
is that, see, she's arguing for, here, let's get the technical definition. Let's get Grok to give us the technical definition of what we need. Okay. Technical jargon for yeah, let's get the technical jargon down. Multi-substantialism is like what they're doing in a way, right? Yeah, multi-substantialism, where they're saying there's like a body soul that is a clump of cells and doesn't have any value, and then the higher rational spirited soul is generated magically at, we say at third trimester, but usually people don't even attribute children being reasonable until they're at least like 9 years old or 10 years old, like 6 or 7 at the earliest that they're really gifted, and like they can tell the difference between moral responsibility, right, and like play and relativism and trivialisms, right? You know what I mean? And then it's like when they can do that, it's like, but like pigs are more rational than children at third trimester, or even at 1-year-old or 2-year-old. Like adult pigs are more rational, like not rational. Well, I mean, they have more common sense, right? They have more common sense, and they have more brain intuition and instinct, right? And navigational motor skills, right? And survival autonomy, bodily autonomy, right? As opposed to rational autonomy, right? So it's like, if you want to be like, oh, like it's because of the body's complexity that therefore it has a soul at like, or it has moral worth at like, the third trimester, but like a full adult pig doesn't, or a full adult cow doesn't, right? Then you're being inconsistent in your worldview, right? And you're being a hypocrite in some sense, right? And because then if you say, oh no, it's because it's a human, well, something special about humans, then that clump of cell that all scientific textbooks say is a human, every single one across the entire fucking planet on Earth, right? Then therefore, that clump of cells that is human, right, would be considered of the moral consideration, right? And so it's like, I don't know. Like, but like the only way they get around it is like doing something like Stephen Banal II or Destiny does, where he tries to argue that like we basically have two substances. Like we have our personal substance, and then we have our bodily substance. And our personal substance like comes into existence after our bodily substance through like what he defines as the potential for future experience with a memory or a potential memory of a past experience to be charitable or something like that, right? So that way, if you disable a child before they ever have an experience, and they have no potential future experience, and they never had a past experience, even if it is a human body that grows into a full human adult, you can turn it into basically a sex like doll and do crazy sex things with it, right? Is what he argued for in the whatever podcast debate with Trent Horn on their abortion debate, right? That's how crazy that's to maintain her logically consistent worldview, right? To maintain her worldview. Like, that's how the rationalist people, the hyper rationalist minded people, justify the worldview that this idiot girl can't defend, right? And like, that's what she would have to bite the bullet on ultimately.
Waves are detectable at 10 weeks.
Or remain morally
tell me
inconsistent
why
and crazy.
Second and third trimester.
Because that's when the baby.
I'm gonna
is
be totally
more so
crazy and
developed,
insane,
is what I'm
man.
saying.
Yeah, bro.
Like, in that argument,
Woohoo! Party on, guys!
when
Yeah,
you were shown the
bro!
pictures of the fetus, of a dolphin fetus and a human's fetus, you weren't able to tell the difference.
But that
And that's
doesn't
more
mean it
so
was
what
not a
I'm-
human being, though.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not developed. It's the same kind of concept. Like, if it comes down to that person's life and their well-being, why
But
should
you
they
know,
not
there's a
be
time
themselves?
for partying.
So life
you know
of the
what I
mother
mean?
is extremely rare.
It's not that rare, though.
How many times do you think that?
But
there are
nobody
abortions
should
for
be
the life of the
killing
mother
anyone
out
at
of
the
a
party.
1.5 million abortions.
Like,
every
we
year?
shouldn't actually
How much do
let
you think?
Dionysus come
I'm
out into
not
the
sure what
party,
Less
So to
less
speak.
than 500
right?
out of 1.5 million.
And we shouldn't become
And by the way, the vast majority of those are
Dionysians
babies that could have been delivered by cesarean section.
and murder
Do you know
and
what a
rape.
cesarean section
Yes.
is? Okay. So understand that if a baby's at 28 weeks,
That kind of
they say it's
party.
life of the mother. Why would you?
The people who
terminate
are
the
like,
baby if
oh,
you're
it's not a
delivered by
party unless
C-section?
someone dies.
Well, if you can't deliver it by
No, but they're not
C-section,
even given that option. Instead, they go to an
Those
abortion.
kind of
so then
guys.
that's essentially an issue
practically murder at that
we should
point.
address within these politics.
Like, if you
Because no
organize
one is
party
saying
where,
to
like,
kill kids,
it's
no
not
one is
over
saying-
until
Hold on,
someone
but
dies,
let's
right?
first of all,
And
late-term
it's like
abortion is very
consistently
common
that
and very
way, and you
frequent.
intend
It's
for it to
not
be
that
that way
common,
as part
though.
of the
That's-
party
I mean,
How
organizer.
many times do you think it happens a year?
I would try him for murder.
Late-term abortions?
Yeah.
I don't think it happens.
Tens of
that
thousands of times a year.
You can't say that
Tens
when
of
it
thousands
comes
of
to the
times.
life of the mother.
But I am curious though.
That's
Just
never the case. It's
more-
like,
like you said
give
about
one
well-being.
case. Google it right now.
Why should
One case where a
any
woman
person be able to
would
terminate another
die
human being
if they
if you feel as
didn't
if
kill
well-being will
the
be
child.
jeopardized? Why should I be able to terminate
Not
someone in this audience if they're
C-section,
gonna get in my well-being way?
abort
By
the
what
child
grounds
and
then?
take it
No,
out,
apply
but
a
kill
universal
the
moral
child.
standard to the abortion argument.
Right?
Help me
Kill the
understand.
child.
If I were to get pregnant right now, I would not be able to
Name
give
one.
birth to that child and give it the life it deserves.
Got-
Because
So why should you get to kill it?
How did you,
accidents still happen, guys? Like
Okay,
you can.
hold
you
on.
Why
can-
should you get to kill someone just because you don't want them? It's like I don't want you, so I think we should just kill you. Like if she was queen, like this is literally her. Like, if I'm queen, if I don't want you as my subject, I guess I'll just kill you. You know what I mean? Especially since you're all smaller than me and I'm the queen bee.
be on birth control.
Hold on.
You can still.
This is an important point, guys.
You're all
But-
insects
but-
compared to
wait a
me
second.
up in
But
my
then
castle.
shouldn't take
You all look like
responsibility for
ants.
your orgasms.
No.
So let me
Listen,
be clear that you want to have all the fun, but none of the responsibility.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You should be
I'm saying
responsible for
accidents still
everything
happen.
in
No,
your
of course,
life.
and you know what happens when accidents
Everything,
involve other
absolutely
human
everything.
beings? You don't terminate them.
Down to your cellular memory. Every single bit.
You don't get to eliminate another human being because of an accident. That's not a moral code we live by.
Correct. But why do you not care about the outcome of that human being's life?
Of
When it-
course I do. No, I mean,
But you don't, because when
I
it,
don't?
if I were to give
I was
birth
just
to a
saying
kid
cells
right
because we're
now,
talking about
and it's living in horrible
abortion.
conditions, 'cause I'm just a college
Obviously, there's
student,
deeper
why
things
do
in
you
your
not
cells,
care-
like
why do you
God.
not put in funding into those
Like-
But everything-
establishments?
Hold on,
Cells are
every-
biological,
look,
and then there's
everything that we
chemistry.
believe in is about the betterment of that kid's life.
Right.
Safer streets for more,
And then
more
there's, like, the
police on
ecology.
streets. Want to have better schools and school choice so that kid can read.
Right,
And
some
learn.
cells are
Stronger
dependent
churches so
on
that the kid can
ecology.
learn about a
Why
strong
does that
ethical
matter
code.
if I can't afford a house for this kid?
Well, but hold on, I'm
by
going through the list
definition.
of all the things that can happen. Curtailing inflation, so you can have purchasing power for that kid. The point being, everything that we as conservatives believe in is making it easier to have children in
Physics
this
is more a
country.
priori
And
to
just
that
because we don't want
too.
more government money spent on
And
something, which
then
actually makes
mathematics,
it harder, does not mean we don't want that thing. But it's also it's a red herring argument.
ethic,
We're talking about the morality of
epistemology,
the elimination of a life.
metaphysics,
Right.
and then God.
And so I just want to
And
be
then it's end,
totally
final
understanding
end.
of clear
It's over.
that
Just like it
what
says in the Bible, God
species
is
the
end.
being when it's at
It's over.
6 weeks.
Done. Final.
To me, I believe that it's a clump of cells.
No, I understand.
It's a zygote.
No, I know, but the species,
I'm sorry, what was
the
that?
species. So everything on the animal kingdom has a species type.
Right.
So we are Homo sapiens, and you could be an alligator. So what is it? Is it a
Okay,
Homo?
it would be a Homo sapien,
So if it's a Homo sapien, it's human. So then shouldn't it be given human rights?
but it hasn't. My point is, it hasn't been developed. It's still just a clump of cells.
Right, but
at the end of the day.
but hold on. My baby right now is 9 months old. He's still developing. He can't speak yet.
Right.
He's crawling. So why does he have less moral worth at 9 months? I mean,
not
we're all
saying
still
that.
developing here, by the way.
I'm-
You know that men's brains don't stop developing till they're 35.
Right.
So should we just be able to say, well, sorry, you're 21. I couldn't get rid of you because
It's more so if I can't give that child the life it deserves, why am I bringing it to?
Got it. No, this will be my last question. I want you to think about it. If a single mom has two 2-year-olds, twins, and she wakes up one day and says, I can't do it anymore. I can't give them the life they deserve.
But that's just not the circumstance.
Hold on. Should she be able to take out a shotgun and kill both those kids?
No.
Of course not, because you think that would be objectionable. That's why I think it's objectionable to eliminate 2 babies that are 6 weeks old, because they're morally the same thing. One just happens to be bigger. One just happens to be older. One just happens to be outside of the womb. They're both human beings. And you have something in you that says, no way is it okay to kill a 2-year-old. That's called your soul talking. What I'm trying to do is connect reason and your soul and have that same sort of objection no when
But the thing is, like, if you asked her, like, what is the property of, like if you asked her, what is the property that makes, or the predicate or the property that makes a human suddenly worthy of the right to life or something like that, right? Or intrinsic dignity, right? Or moral consideration, right, for life. Like some question along those lines. And I would just wonder if she would think, property? What's this have to do with my Gucci bag?
you see twins on an ultrasound.
I just believe you're looking at this more emotionally than scientifically.
Dude, that's just a bad argument. Like, look at This just says the practical beginning of pregnancy, not the beginning of human life, though. So that's a non-starter. So this just says this is when it's considered not splitting into a twin, which is irrelevant, right? That's irrelevant. And this is the one that allows for pigs. This is the one that's arbitrarily defined, right? And allows for human sex dolls, right? This is the one that allows for you turning vegetable brain dead humans that are babies that never had experience because you just turn off their consciousness, right? And so they're brain dead, but they still grow, right? Like a vegetable grows, and you could turn them into sex dolls, right? Because there's nothing wrong with that. Why not? Or turn it or harvest their organs. Just turn them into organ harvest plants. Right? Harvest livers and kidneys and hearts and brains, right? Whatever you need, right? And just rip them out of their bodies, right? And then say, no, we won't do that. Like, we're allowed to kill them, but we won't harvest their organ. That's where we'll draw the line. Like, we can kill them, but we can't turn off their consciousness. We can kill them, but we can't turn off their future consciousness, right? Nope, that you can't say that. Turning off somebody's future consciousness is less harmful than killing them. Like, right? And then so therefore you can't argue you can't turn off their future consciousness, right? And then saying, oh, you can't harvest their organs is less harmful than killing them. Saying you can't have sex with them is less harmful than killing them. So why can't you do those things, huh? Why can't you, huh, punk? Huh? Bitch? Come on, bitch tits. Argue with me. Stupid feminists.
That, again, you can believe that. I actually am looking at it incredibly reasonably because I can tell you down to the minute when human life begins. You kind of give me a range. Your life began not at birth, but at conception, about 9 months before your birth.
That's your opinion.
Well, it's actually science's opinion. You know why? This is your eye color, your skin color, your tastes, your wants, your desires, your interests, introverted or extroverted, whether or not you're going to be tall or short, it all got decided in that moment. You know why? Your DNA.
You know, you either believe humans have multiple souls or we have one soul. You're arguing that we have multiple souls, a soul that exists when we in our body, right? Our cells, the cells that like I could literally see right now in this picture, is kind of right. Like they're in a way like look, I'm looking at them, right? And then the cells and then like this magical person that has moral worth, whatever that is that you haven't defined, right?
DNA was formed.
Well,
And with that, what is your marker as a human being? As we map the human genome, we realize everything about you. Whether or not you have a predisposition to heart disease, whether you're going to be tall, short, extra wide, skinny. It's all in deoxyribonucleic acid.
Correct.
And the DNA does not start in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 20 weeks. It starts at conception. And that's when you were formed. That's when you came into this world and you were worthy of protection. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
We don't need their fuel. We don't need their energy. We don't need their oil and gas. We don't need anything that they have. Canada should be a 51st state.
He is acting much like a bully. Bullies only understand strength.
How pissed off we are.
I'm here to tell you all.
Something tells me that when America is bully, the market's bullish. right? Something tells me that there's a correlation there, right? Let's see if Grok agrees with that intuition. – 20 to 30%. That's pretty good odds. Hey, if you could tell a marketer that you had 30% odds like on something, like if you tell anyone that like it's a 30% chance that something's going to happen, that's a predictable market. That's a bully market. You know what I mean? That's a consistent market swing.
We got you.
To talk to the Trump administration about Alberta petitioning for U.S. statehood.
I like this idea, and at least half of Canadians are interested.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. Trump is completely serious about these tariffs on Canada. This is going ahead. This is happening. And he is intent on making Trudeau bend the knee. Perhaps the second one to bend the knee in the space of a week. Zelensky being the first.
My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership.
So we're going to be going through all of that, all of the reasons why this is happening, and some of the fallout that has been taking place, which is very, very entertaining. So the reasons why this is happening is because Donald Trump feels it necessary to impose reciprocal tariffs on Canada to try and balance the trade deficit. And he also wants Canada to secure their border and not allow masses of fentanyl to come across the northern border.
Mr. President, on fentanyl, Mr. President, less than 1% of all fentanyl that comes into the U.S. is apprehended at the Canadian border. So why use fentanyl as a reason
Because they
to
should
impose
be apprehending
tariffs
much
on
more. They're only apprehending 1%. You're right about that. It's a little more than that. But they should be apprehending much more because a lot comes through Canada. And as Mexico gets stronger in terms of the border, it goes up to Canada. And a lot of drugs are coming in through Canada. We can't have that.
And in terms of the trade deficit, Canada has tariffs as high as 250% on dairy products, 200% on poultry, 20% on lumber and more. Now, Canada are certainly a significant trading partner for the United States. Vast amounts of oil and gas and minerals and lumber come from north to south. However, Trump doesn't seem to think that America needs any of that if they...
Trump's right, we don't need it, but that's not the point. What we should be doing is building up our oil reserves, right, with foreign oil and selling them trash that we don't need, like renewables, right? Like our Teslas and like our shit that's like, yeah, we need to sell them like our cars and I don't know, what else do we make? I don't know. Like toys. Like you make a certain amount of toys for one oil barrel or whatever worth, and then you sell it for like 1.5 barrel worth or 2 barrel worth, right? And then you stockpile foreign oil, and then you leave our oil in the ground, right? You drill some. You want to be drilling constantly. You want working drills constantly, but you don't want to over drill, is what I'm saying. You want to sip, right, on our stock, and you want to try to get as much oil from foreign lands as possible. That way, when the real oil wars start, right, the United States is in a comfortable position to outlast the death of all these nations, like, that rely on oil, right? And then we could be the last ones to die, right? But or at least evolve into like the next generation of whatever is going to happen, right? But we might just go to Mars and find even more energy, and or like learn to like harvest the sun's energy better, right? With material we find on Mars, and just who cares if we pollute Mars, right? So we just do heavy industrying on Mars, and then build crazy technology that just like completely kills the atmosphere and makes everything completely toxic and deadly, but we just work and work, and the men work and work and work, and they're in their like Gundam robots, like the early ones, like the tractor ones, the ones that look like forklifts, right? And they're just like shooting around with like, and like picking things up and putting them in the big machines and pressing the big button, and then it like pumps out like the part, and it's like a solar panel, and then they fly it to like the Dyson machine that's like we're building around the sun, right? And like there's like we learn to make batteries out of like, you know, the material on Mars, and then so we don't have to mine it on Earth, right? But then we'd have like all these people on Mars who like, how do we pay for, like, I guess like we get AI robots to do it. Yeah, we get AI robots to do it. I mean, have you seen these NVIDIA robots? They're pretty impressive. All right. And then we could just like remote control them even from Earth. Right? We could just like log into our computer or our VR headset, and then just like drive them. With like Starlink 2.0 or 3.0. Linking the stars. One system at a time. Hold on. NVIDIA robot. This one there. They're gonna do anything? I want to find the video of it painting.
properly utilize their own American resources. And also, he thinks that because Canada is a failing state under Trudeau, which, I mean, at the moment it is, and because they're completely reliant on America, then they should probably just be the 51st state.
A lot of them. We don't need Canada for that. We don't need Canada for lumber because we have big forests that we have, you know, not utilized. In some cases, they're protected, which I can take that protection off. And you take down a tree and you grow a better tree. That's, you know, pretty common. But we don't need anything. We don't need their fuel. We don't need their energy. We don't need their oil and gas. We don't need anything that they have. And I said to Trudeau, I said, why are we subsidizing you $200 and $250 billion a year? He said, I really don't know. And I said, well, I don't know either. I said, what would happen to Canada if we didn't? He said Canada would be obliterated if that happened.
The Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, called upon Canadians to stand strong.
Make no mistake, America. If you do not hand over your president, there will be war the likes of which you have never seen. Canadians will rise together.
So I don't know whether to fully take this seriously. I think it is just kind of a joust saying you guys are so reliant on us and you guys need us so much more than we need you that you may as well be the 51st state. And the argument there actually kind of does make sense. But here's the way I see the situation. America is like the guy at the expensive dinner who has the good job, the nice car, and the high net worth that whenever the bill comes out is always just expected to pay because nobody else even offers. But what the others at the table don't take into consideration is that America has a bunch of kids at home to support, a wife that has a serious spending problem, and he's also supporting a bunch of other friends with drug problems and extended family in aged care facilities. So despite the fact that he is going into debt, he's still expected to pay the bill. And all he's saying is, guys, if you want to come to the fancy restaurant, get the expensive filet mignon steak, and get the nice bottle of red wine, then you have to help pay the bill. And all of a sudden now he's the bad guy. But then even after all of this, he compromises by saying, listen, I know your life is falling apart. I know your finances are completely in the hole and your family is very pissed off at you. Your wife wants to leave you. So let me buy your house. You can still live in it and I'll cover the costs.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut. Tremendous tax cut because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, you know, if it's explained.
So, I mean, take this information as you will, guys. It looks like he's pretty serious. And he's even calling Justin Trudeau Governor Trudeau, which is pretty hilarious. And guys,
Governor
the Canadians are pissed about this. Check out Jagmeet Singh, who is obviously as Canadian as maple syrup, and what he has to say about President Trump.
You're running for prime minister, as I mentioned. You are proposing uninviting Trump, so uninviting America from the G7 summit hosted by Canada this summer. I've heard your reason for why you personally find him to be a detestable individual, but why do you think that this is a strategically sound idea when it comes to geopolitics?
What I've learned from seeing Donald Trump and the way that he comports himself, the way he acts, is that he is acting much like a bully. And bullies only understand strength. It doesn't make sense. The premise of G7 is to have a summit with 7 nations. The premise of that is, the starting point is that we all believe that we're all nations that are working towards some common goals. Well, as a starting point, we are the host of this. And we have Donald Trump, who does not believe that we should be a country. That is a prerequisite to having meetings where we talk about what we want to do together. I think we have to send a strong message. That is something that we reject. And instead, we use this summit as an opportunity for the other nations to talk about how we resist some of the very dangerous things that Donald Trump is proposing. The fact that in his topsy-turvy world, someone who is an actual dictator, who is threatening the lives of people, who is an aggressor, Vladimir Putin, is Donald Trump's friend, and the resistor, the hero of the story, President Zelensky, is being painted as a villain by Donald Trump. That is completely the opposite of the truth and the opposite of reality. Given all of that context, I think more than ever, the G7 summit should be about how we resist the dangerous things that Donald Trump's proposing.
Whoa, tough guy over here. And actually, in response to these tariffs, Canada have actually deployed their military to show that they're not messing around. And here is the Premier of British Columbia saying that Canada is going to be passing legislation allowing it to tax US trucks traveling through British Columbia to Alaska. This is in retaliation. He's saying to Trump how super duper pissed he is.
I did see the media report indicating that yet again, the president is sowing uncertainty and chaos, attempting to undermine our economy by implementing tariffs and then quickly pulling them off. He has realized what we told him from the beginning, which is that these tariffs hurt Americans. They hurt American companies. They hurt American workers. They hurt American families. And what's also hurting is the uncertainty that the continued threat and removal of tariffs has on our country here in Canada. My message for the Prime Minister, for my colleagues across the country, and it's one I'm sure they want to deliver to me too, is stand strong. We are not going to accept these continual threats, this continued uncertainty. We're going to stand up for Canadians. This is unacceptable. And we're going to ensure that the Americans understand how pissed off we are.
I'm so fucking scared right now, you shut up!
How unified we are, how committed we are to working as a country to stand up for each other and our own independence on our own 2 feet.
There are dozens of him.
And I say we don't let up until the president takes the threat off the table.
And Trump is not having this for a second. He said, please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the US, our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. And the tears from north of the border have not stopped there, guys, with Trudeau coming out and actually starting to cry, showing how thoroughly Donald Trump has broken this man.
On a personal level, I've made sure that every single day in this office, I put Canadians first, that I have people's backs. And that's why I'm here to tell
That's right.
you all.
I have your back. You guys in the front, shoot those guys. I got your back. I'll be all the way in the back, getting an old grandma's back. Hey, grandma, have you thought of trying to kill yourself? You know? Because you're just kind of draining my wallet and taking up my hot meal.
We got you. Even in the very last days of this government, we will not let Canadians down today and long into the future.
It's like, oh, grandma, I see you twisted your ankle and you want health care. Have you considered killing yourself?
So I guess at least all of that time that Justin Trudeau spent as a drama teacher wasn't totally useless. But is this really the case? Is Justin Trudeau out there just crying and fighting for the Canadians every single step of the way? Because to me, it kind of seems like he's completely destroyed the country over the last 10 years. He has massively ramped up immigration, and this has caused a massive housing shortage and also a cost of living crisis. So much so, actually, that he has had to do a 180 turn and completely admit that they messed up, and he's had to try and stem the flow now.
Let's talk about it. In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years. Today, I'm going to let you in on what happened, where we made some mistakes, and why we're taking this big turn.
So history will look back on Justin Trudeau's reign as a complete and utter disaster. This is one of the worst things that a politician can do.
But he's
he
the governor.
boasts about the Canadian economy, saying it's so fantastic.
He's the
What they've
51st
done
governor.
is they have imported millions and millions of immigrants to try and suffice for their massive labor shortage, because Canada has a birth rate of 1.3. It's one of the worst in the world and falling as things get more expensive. So what Canada has on their hands is a demographic crisis, and this is the effects of the falling birth rates in the West. People say that this is a problem for the future, but no, this is happening right now. So rather than them addressing the issue of the broken family structure and that people don't want to have children anymore, they just use this band-aid strategy of bringing in all of these immigrants to try and replace the failing labor market. I mean, just look at Canada's annual population growth from 1991 to 2023. You can see here, Justin Trudeau gets in 2015, 2016 it goes up, 17 up, 18 up, 19 up. Obviously COVID, there was less people coming in. And then in 2022 and 2023, it just absolutely skyrockets. This to me does not seem like somebody who is so deeply invested in the well-being of his people and doesn't really seem like he cares about his country or the future of his country and his people whatsoever. I mean, it didn't really seem like he was crying over the welfare of the Canadians whose bank accounts he froze. Of course, the truckers who were protesting against his tyrannical measures didn't seem like they were crying about that. In fact, it seemed like him and his representatives were laughing about it. Or how about the Canadian farmers who you literally threw under the bus with carbon taxes and with fertilizer restrictions so that you could please your daddy Klaus Schwab? Well, the farmers made their feelings known about this.
You're an artist. Yeah. Are you good at it?
So it seems like all Trudeau really cares about is just being a globalist.
Truly.
And obviously diversity and LGBTQ plus IA2 spirit and climate change.
I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2 plus kids' rights.
When he can pronounce it, that is. And this is probably why
loser.
Alberta lawyer Jeff
What a
Rath
loser.
is organizing a
Like,
delegation
what a
to go
loser.
to
Oh,
BC and have
he
a
just
meeting
like
about
eats the
Alberta's
alphabet
statement in
salad.
the United States. This is purely because of how badly these Canadians get treated by their government.
There's a group of Albertans that are working together right now to put together a delegation to go to Washington to talk to the Trump administration about Alberta petitioning for U.S. statehood. It's quite evident that we're being governed by idiots in Ottawa who don't understand that we can't afford a trade war with our largest trading partner, and rather than simply apologizing to President Trump for not meeting our NATO commitments and not adequately securing our border, apparently the Trudeau government has decided to declare a trade war and run up trillions of dollars in costs like they did during COVID on a made-up emergency. So there's a number of us in Alberta that have had enough and want to go speak with the Trump administration about the benefits of Alberta joining the United States.
So, guys, Canada is a country of much opportunity. And as an American, if you're listening to this, let me know what you think about this. Do you really think that taking on all of Canada's problems would be worth it? Seems to me like Greenland is a better option. Let me know what you think in the comments. But Mr. Wonderful seems to think that this is a fantastic idea.
There's 41 million Canadians, basically the population of California, sitting on the world's largest amounts of all resources, including the most important, energy and water. Canadians over the holidays, the last 2 days, have been talking about this. They want to hear more. And so, you know, there's obviously a lot of issues, more details, but what this could be is the beginning of an economic union. Think about the power of combining the two economies, erasing the border between Canada and the United States, and putting all that resource up to the northern borders where China and Russia are knocking on the door. So secure that, give a common currency, figure out taxes across the board, get everything trading both ways, create a new, almost EU-like passport. I like this idea, and at least half of Canadians are interested. The problem is the government's collapsing in Canada right now. Nobody wants Trudeau to negotiate this deal. I don't want him doing it for me, so I'm going to go to Mar-a-Lago. I'll start the narrative. The 41 million Canadians, I think most of them would trust me on this deal.
So we don't know how this is going to play out. We know it's going to be very interesting, but what we do know.
Okay.